to all those potluck invitations. Much to their consternation, my parents were figuring out that besides apples and oysters, there were a few other crops that could be successfully harvested in Desolation Sound. With its rare coastal microclimate of warm, wet air and long, hot summers, Desolation Sound, BC is perfect for growing bountiful bushels of marijuana. All Those Potluck was a 5-minute boat ride away in the next bay, and as our motorboat rounded the rocky finger that separated our bays, we heard the party before we actually saw it. The combined caterwaul of a potluck in full swing danced over the open water like radio waves. As we drew closer, my innocent young eyes widened upon a scene of total hedonism. Intertwined brown bodies lay outstretched all over the sun-drenched shoreline, smoking, drinking, laughing, singing, making out, and making love. Seemingly wild, long-haired children ran among the cavorting adults, leaping off the rocks into clear green ocean water. The aesthetic that united the party was very revealing. Every man, woman, and child was totally, utterly nude. It was like the moment Charlton Heston discovers the humans at the Oasis in Planet of the Apes. Just add a cranked-up Deep Purple cassette and matching purple bong smoke that hung low across the bay, smoke on the water, just like they're stereo blasted. This outrageous scene was more than enough for Dad to start vigorously turning our boat around, but Mom wouldn't let him, grabbing his arm and reasoning that A, she was bringing banana bread, B, we were going to have to meet the rest of our neighbors eventually, and C, how would it look if this big bad developer and his family suddenly swung their boat around in full view of the neighborhood party and left without even saying hello. My dad had bought a stretch of coastline in Desolation Sound, and all the locals were worried he was going to pave paradise. He did not do that. We tied our skiff to a makeshift barge of boats, a barely floating pell-mell parking lot of rafts, canoes, kayaks, and rowboats in various states of sunken disrepair. We had to climb through several of them very gingerly before we could make our way up the gangplank to shore. Now, throughout my childhood, whenever I was extremely uncomfortable or frightened, I developed a strange nervous reaction. My teeth would rattle like I was locked in a freezer. Walking up that gangplank on that hot summer night into a foreign, naked scene of hippie strangers, my teeth sounded like a death rattle. My little sister cowered behind me, pulling on the back of my E.T. turtleneck. We were greeted by a beaming Aldo and his festive long white beard flowing down over his bulging brown belly, both of which almost covered his dangling penis. Almost. He gripped a half-full bottle of labelless red wine in one hand and waved a giant doobie in the other, which he transferred to his lips when he extended his leathery brown hand in welcome. My sister and I stared on in shock, eyes like keen kids in pale, expressionless faces. My teeth continued to chatter uncontrollably. Everyone at the party welcomed us with extremely uncomfortable hugs, introducing us all around. Pungent pot clouds filled the air like a skunky London fog. Elaborate bongs gurgled and hissed, threatening to stain Mom's pink pedal pushers at any second. Mom later said that she had never maintained such steadfast eye contact and took extra caution when reaching out to shake hands with the guys. When Aldo sat down on a stump and spread his legs like Santa in a sauna, she very strategically placed the pan of banana bread directly on his lap. Now, for whatever bizarre societal reason, being the only clothed individuals at a nudist party at the edge of the wilderness felt as uncomfortable as if one were to suddenly be dropped naked onto a downtown sidewalk. And there would be no grin and bear it, literally, for the Lawrence family on this night. The closest thing that we got to public nudity was in our bathing suits once or twice a summer on Vancouver's Third Beach. And even then, at age 9, I would never dare take my shirt off. We spent, I would say, another 90 excruciating minutes at the party, and since the only pot that my parents touched sat on our stove simmering crab dinner every Friday night, they were not blending in any better than my sister and I were. After the umpteenth uncircumcised male member bounced past my sister's eye level, she eventually slipped into something akin to a catatonic shock, desperate to escape back into the 1880s world of heavily clothed, bonnet-to-boot characters in her beloved Little House on the Prairie novels. Meanwhile, I pushed my glasses up from the end of my nose and moved over to the edge of the deck to get a better look at the bronze, pregnant hippie ladies spread out on the rocks like melted candles. Mom eventually signaled our exit. Although, thank you so much for having us, she said in a volume shrill enough to frighten birds into flight. You know what? We better get the kids home now, but this has been an absolutely fabulous party. On our mostly silent boat ride home, Dad muttered that the party had been an unpleasant cross between Helter Skelter, Apocalypse Now, and a National Geographic special on orangutans. I have had a deep and personal aversion to potlucks ever since.